I cut this rock so that I could slide a walnut board in between the two pieces. I secured it with bolts so that I could make a coffee table that looks like a little rock mountain sticking through a wood cloud. I was surprised to learn that it's actually not that hard to cut a rock this size. This is a granite boulder that weighs about 200 pounds, and after rolling it around, I found the side that I wanted to serve as a flat bottom. I drew a straight line with a Sharpie, and then I just started cutting into it using an angle grinder with a tile cutting blade. These 4.5-inch diameter blades only cost about $18 from Home Depot, but they can only cut about 2 inches into the rock. I cut all the way around, and now I can use my rock cleaver, stick that into the cut mark, and break off that piece to get a almost flat bottom. A rock cleaver is just an 1/8-inch thick piece of steel welded to a steel pipe, but a piece of flat steel bar will work, or a cold chisel. This piece broke off fairly cleanly, but I did have to grind away a little bit of the broken part. I don't have to get it perfectly flat or smooth, which would require a little bit more skill, because I'm using anchoring epoxy against a silicone pad to create a perfectly flat bottom that won't scratch my floors. To cut the top off, I need a Sharpie line that goes around the top of the rock, and I just cut a plywood jig and duct tape the Sharpie to it. For these cuts, I had to be a little bit more slow and careful since I'm not going to have epoxy to fill in any gaps here. And I do have to be careful around those thin parts of rocks because those would chip pretty easy, particularly with granite. Now this is the surface that I do need to get nice and flat, and I'll put links to a few different grinding wheels that are good for this application. Cutting rocks with an angle grinder is pretty dusty, so I got out my pressure washer and cleaned everything up before moving on to the wood portion of the project. I have a walnut board that's about 1.25 inches thick, and that sits nice and flat onto that flat surface that I just ground. Once I got it into the position that I thought looked good, I traced the outline of the upper rock and then drilled a couple of holes in the center of that outline. I'm going to use 1/4-inch stainless steel hex bolts, and so I used a bigger hole at the top just so the heads would be recessed into the wood. I then drilled smaller 5/16-inch holes all the way through the board, and I did dull up a drill bit, which I thought was a worthwhile sacrifice to leave a couple of marks into the top of the stone. Now I can drill 1-inch diameter holes using a core bit, again on my angle grinder, and these oversized holes are going to allow me to epoxy in long coupling nuts that will give me a really secure and strong way to attach the wood to the rock. Core bits are just like hole saws, and they have diamonds on them, so they cut through stone pretty quickly, and then you just kind of pop out these little stone cylinders which break off rather easily. I placed the hex bolts through the wood, checked to make sure that they were clearing this top surface, and then I screwed on these long coupling nuts. These are inexpensive and you can just order them online, and I'll put links to them down below. I checked to make sure the holes were deep enough and that everything was in the right place, and now I can put some duct tape over the bottom of these nuts, because when I put epoxy into the rock holes, I don't want that to get in and gum up all the threads. And just 2 layers of duct tape will do the trick. This Quikrete anchoring epoxy is really handy. It's super strong, and you can get a tube of it at Home Depot. It's a 2-part mix that mixes in the nozzle, and I just squirted a little bit into the holes. And I was really conservative here because I don't want to accidentally glue the wood to the rock. After letting the epoxy cure, I unscrewed the bolts and then filled in just a little bit more. Now the nuts are set in place, I can be a little more aggressive, filling in with epoxy until everything is flush with the surface of the rock. Now I can really turn my attention to shaping the wood portion. I did the initial cut with a jigsaw just to get the rough, sort of surfboardy shape. And then I started tapering down to a thin edge using the angle grinder and a carving disc. Carving wood is a lot faster than stone, but I do think it's really cool that you can use an angle grinder to power carve all these different materials. I'm really only carving one side, and I have that nice outline for where the bottom rock meets the underside of the board, and I'm just making sure to stay just right outside that edge. I'm pretty precise with the angle grinder, but it is an aggressive tool. So when I'm using it, I try to give myself about 1/8 of an inch extra space between the pencil line and what I'm power carving. Now I can go in with the orbital sander, and this removes material slower, so I feel more comfortable going right up to the line with the sander. For finish sanding on curved surfaces, I like to put a sanding sponge in between my orbital sander and the sandpaper. I just find that this gives me better contours on curved surfaces. For finishing hardwoods these days, I really like Rubio Monocoat. It's pretty expensive as far as finishes go, but it's low VOC, durable finish, and it just makes the wood look fantastic. I went ahead and assembled everything, and it looks good, and I definitely could be done, but that thickness of the wood pushed the stone up, and you're losing kind of that continuous contour that the stone originally had. So to get this right, I need to remove about another 3/4 to an inch of stone from that upper rock. And this made me a little bit nervous because I had a decent looking project, and there's always the chance of chipping out the thin parts of the stone when you start cutting it again. To hold the stone steady, I like to put it in a little box of sand, and I just went real slow and did a lot of polishing until everything was perfectly flat. I also don't want this rock to slide off, so I'm going to use some very short sections of wood dowels that fit in the bigger holes in the wood, and this is just so that I can trace around them to the underside of the top rock. I don't want to glue wood to stone. I mean, I could, but instead I'm going to use some washers that have the same diameter as those dowels. And for this, I'm just using some Gorilla 5-minute epoxy. It just comes in a smaller package, and I don't have to open up a whole tube of the Quikrete anchoring epoxy. I don't want the top rock to scratch the top of the table, so I'm going to epoxy some leather to the surface. And I did have to cut out some circular holes that will fit around the washers. And I also thought that I would just go ahead and epoxy some leather to a couple additional washers that I could use to layer up to create some steel but leather covered pegs that fit into the holes in the wood. In total, I glued up 3 washers because I don't need them to be like a real long peg. I just needed to keep that top rock from sliding. Now I can glue that other cut leather piece to the stone surface, and now I can put it all together, and yes, now it looks like a wood cloud floating through a rock mountain. I love this project, and it went totally viral on Instagram, which means they got a lot of people making inquiries about buying a version of it. So after a message from our sponsor, I'm going to show you how I made a second version of this table in 1/4 of the amount of time. This video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Here at Maker Ranch, we love HelloFresh because it does a few things for us. It saves us trips to the grocery store by sending us fresh ingredients, all packaged up and ready to go into meals. It adds variety to our diet, which is nice to break a monotonous routine while still keeping a focus on healthy foods with lots of vegetables and proteins. HelloFresh has a broad menu that you can select meals from. There's a high protein focus, which is great for those gains, and the portions are generous to the point where we had some leftovers. I also feel HelloFresh has made me better at cooking. It introduces me to new ingredients that I haven't tried yet. The instruction cards are incredibly well written, concise, and they do smart things like telling you when to reuse a pan to reduce the amount of dishes that you have to do later. Claim your 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life by using code HMMHF. Use this link, which is also in the description, and you get 1 free meal per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box, new or returning subscribers only, and it varies by plan. HelloFresh saves us time, keeps us healthy, and we highly recommend them. The video I posted about the first table I made went viral, and I got a lot of inquiries of people asking if they could buy one from me. So for the second one, I really wanted to focus on speed. And since I spent about 8 to 10 hours carving the rocks on the first one, and most of that was just creating flat surfaces, I felt justified to drop some money on a big Husqvarna brake saw. This machine costs about $2,000, but it's awesome for cutting flat surfaces onto rocks. It has 2 blades that are about 1 inch apart, and it's called a brake saw because as you cut into it, and eventually you bottom out with the space between the blades, you then can go in and chip out those little chunks of stone and then just go ahead and cut deeper. And with this saw, I'm able to put pretty flat surfaces on rocks that are about 30 inches in diameter. It also can connect to a garden hose so you get water, which keeps the dust weighed down. It only took me about 15 to 20 minutes to cut the first flat surface, but to cut the top off the rock, I'm going to need to set up some bracing so they can cut horizontally into it. I used some chunks of fir, And then I top that with some melamine to give me a nice slippery surface for sliding the shaft of the saw around on. For this particular design, this saw makes a lot of sense because it's actually removing a full inch of rock, so I won't have to do two separate cuts to replace the thickness of the wood. All in, I spent about an hour to get a flat bottom on the rock and to cut the top off. So I was way ahead of the game already versus just using the angle grinder. Now, the price point of the saw isn't the only cost to consider. The blades are also really expensive to replace. My angle grinder blades are like $18 for the basic tile cutting blades, and some of the grinding ones are more in like the $45 to $50 range. Whereas the brake saw blades are about $300 for a pair. And the angle grinder is still needed to smooth out some of the cut lines and get things real flat. Now the wood for this project is a little more challenging because I'm using walnut boards that we harvested from my parents' backyard, and we didn't kiln dry these, so they're kind of warped, they're really hard, and right away I could see that it was wobbling on the flat rock. I'm also way faster the second time I do something. You just have more confidence, and so there's less hesitation between every step. Watch while I drill the holes for the recessed screw heads. You can see how much the board's wobbling. And just to have a better working situation, I just kind of flattened out the bottom of the board by eye using my angle grinder. This isn't perfectly flat, I just saw that it was really bowed in this one area, and I just wanted to get it a little bit less rockety. So, removed material fast with the angle grinder, flattened it out a little bit with a belt sander. I got the bottom so flat with the brake saw that I didn't need to epoxy that part, but I used the same epoxy to glue in these long coupling nuts. Rubio sent me their new jigsaw, which has a new form factor, which I found quite nice. And this time, instead of hex nuts, I just used flathead screws. These days I use pretty much 1/4-20 screws for everything. I carved the curved part of the boards again with the angle grinder, but really was kind of seeing that the surface wasn't still flat enough. So I made a quick plywood sled for my router, and use that to plane down both surfaces of the board. This is a real cost-effective poor man's thickness planer, and you can do pretty wide slabs, although it is tedious with this method. I try to just cut down about 1/8 of an inch at a time. I mean, you could do more with a bigger router, but I don't use a bigger router that often, so for these parts I'm fine being patient. I wasn't able to save too much time with the woodworking portion. I was more confident in my angle grinding, so I got up to the pencil lines a lot quicker. But sanding's still sanding, and that takes a minute. The upper rock is a lot heavier this time, and I felt like the pegs weren't entirely necessary, so for this one I'm not going to do any kind of alignment pegs. I'm just going to carve it out so you could hide something underneath this sort of rock cave. And my go-to technique for carving out a bowl in a rock is to use a bunch of core bits on my angle grinder, chip out the plugs, and just keep going deeper and deeper with the core bits. I tend to wear out the cutting surface on the bottom of the core bits first, so when they get used up, I get more use out of them by kind of smoothing out in between the kind of chunky parts using the edges of them. Not messing around with the plugs and the washers made up for the extra carving time. And so far I was just about 8 to 9 hours into this project. So now I can start thinking about how to price these. I find these rocks on my land, but if I was to buy them from a place like Whitewater Rock, they would probably cost me like $80 to $90. The walnut boards would probably cost me about another $60 to $90. And I would roughly budget another $100 for hardware, consumables, and the leather. Now that doesn't mean that the sale price is just my hourly rate times 9 hours. Talking to the client, making the sale, and figuring out the logistics of shipping something this heavy takes up a bit of time as well. So the price that seems to make sense for me and for the customers is around $3,500. And having an audience makes it easier for me to sell them, but I recommend other craftspeople getting into this type of work and selling them for a similar price. You may get less total leads inbound, but heavy rock and stone furniture is valuable to a lot of consumers on its own merit.